Hello and welcome to the Arcade Veteran. Today I want to go through my latest purchase, which is the PC Engine LT. I purchased this machine off eBay. The machine didn't work. It did display some TV graphics, but obviously you couldn't do much with the TV because it's analog now. This is the LT. I presume the LT stands for laptop. It resembles a bit of a laptop shape. I purchased this one basically because the casing was pretty good, the area was in good condition, there was no broken parts, it had got most of the covers on it, there wasn't a massive amount of yellowing on it, and the screen condition looked pretty good. Unfortunately, this was what I found when I opened her up. A lot of capacitor leakage, a lot of juice from the capacitors all around the power area. That's pretty much where it formed most of its pools of electrolyte. First of all, I had a good look round the board and started cleaning up all the bits that I could see that had been affected by these leakages around that area, around the hue card slot. So I took the hue card slot off, as you can see, and you can see the electrolyte. Obviously, you can see the dampness of all the capacitors where they've leaked. A lot of damage around this particular area. This is the power area. Where the 9 volts comes in. That's the board stripped of its shield and its hue card slot. Taking a closer look at the board, this is I'm just starting to remove the capacitors from the board. Luckily I found a schematic online which told me what capacitors needed. This is a picture of the board really when I had an ultrasonic clean on it. I did also find that this capacitor here had 2 lifted pads. A bit of a shit, but we can sort that, that's not a problem. This is the TV sort of area of the unit, and a couple of pads lifted this side as well. That took me a lot of time to sort out. This is the board cleaned up after its ultrasonic bath and all the capacitors removed. Generally I found that the board was in pretty good condition, apart from a little bit of electrolyte damage to those pads. The actual board was in pretty good nick, so I started setting about repairing it and installing some new capacitors. You can see there's a little bridge link. That was actually a capacitor leg off a through-hole capacitor. That's just soldered that onto that between that capacitor and the transformer, and obviously replaced those capacitors in that area. That's the board pretty much built back up after I'd replaced all the capacitors. Did run across a massive problem though. The game side didn't work after I'd worked on the capacitors and got it all clean and everything running. I found that I'd got all my powers and earths to that processor where it shows pin 10 were all intact. So I started going round the chip, which is the chip at the top where it says pin 10. Pin 10 happens to be where the oscillator frequency is inputted into the chip, its clock signal. I found that all the earths and lives were fine, but pin 10 was missing its clock signal, so I basically backtracked through a schematic and backtracked through what manuals I could find about the PC Engine and looking at that specific chip in particular, and I came across the details for obviously pin 10. That was going to be the clock signal. Backtracked through to the crystal, it's a 21.47 megahertz oscillator, and I realised that using oscilloscope I found that chip was actually the crystal was actually dead. Having salvaged a new crystal out of my PC Engine GT, I got it all reassembled, and this literally is the moment of truth, me turning it on for the first time, and you can't imagine the emotion. I was like a horny dog with 2 dicks. It was, absolutely over the moon. It took 2 months literally of research, going over it, more research, asking around, really trying to find everything I can about the origins of how the PC Engine works, and finally rewarded with obviously it booted up first time, absolutely over the moon. It couldn't be. That's the little crystal oscillator there. Obviously the PC Engine in its basic form, even though when you've done something right, if the first time you switch it on, you never know whether it's actually going to boot or not. Obviously I was spot on the money. The crystal oscillator had packed up. I've had to sacrifice a PC Engine GT. If anybody, you know, it's a shout out really, if anybody knows where you can get the 3-pin crystal oscillator at 21.47 megahertz, you know, please let me know. You know, I'm desperate to find a replacement or a replacement part number. I've looked around, you know, there's similarities, but nothing really seems to be a good replacement. You know, I've even read up that it's even possible that you can make, you know, you can use a standard crystal and add some capacitors, and you might be able to make up an oscillator that way. I haven't looked into that yet because literally this is hot off the press. My next project is to look into the GT. There's a bit of corrosion. The GT I rebuilt probably about 15-20 years ago when I got my GT. You know, look, opening it up again, there's some corrosion, and I didn't replace all the capacitors then. I wasn't as experienced as I am now, so obviously I've now got to look at the GT and go through it and understand. But without that crystal, it's a dead in the water to start with. So if anybody does know anything where to get one of those crystals from, I don't particularly want to buy another GT just to get hold of a crystal. It's a bit of an expensive crystal, but obviously over the moon that this machine is working. I've wanted one of these for absolute years. There's the poor old GT that's its donor. You know, I must have been after these for 3 or 4 years. I've missed many boats with these. Many that I've paid. What I paid for this probably 4 years ago, I could have got one in box with instructions, in mint condition. So, you know, I've kicked myself every day really until I've actually finally got one, and I can actually call a close to it. You know, I'm over the moon. So there it is. There's my PC Engine LT, fully restored, all working perfectly. So I thought I'd share it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.